Hello everybody, my name's Wolf, and through this series of videos I'm going to explain to you the crazy, over-the-top world that nerds like me love so much, that is Warhammer 40,000. So get comfy, strap in, and prepare for a Noob-Splaining session. So in this video we're going to take a dive into the Astra Militarum, more commonly known as the Imperial Guard. Now every other race in 40k has some kind of bonus. The Tyranids are one colossal hive mind, the Eldar are highly psychic and very fast, the Orcs are sentient mushrooms and really tough to kill. The Imperial Guard, however, are just normal humans. As always, if you enjoy the content I make, hit that subscribe button, and if you are already subscribed, then share this video with someone new to 40k. So even though the Space Marines are the most popular faction and seem to be bloody everywhere in real life, in their lore they are very rarely seen, and most humans will go their entire lives without ever seeing a Space Marine. Which is probably a good thing, because if Space Marines turn up on your world, it's probably already gone to rat shit. The vast majority of wars fought by the Imperium of Man are done so by the Imperial Guard. These days are formerly known as the Astra Militarum, because Imperial Guard is too generic so can't be copyrighted. I shit you not. The Imperium of Man is vast, with well over 1 million inhabited worlds, and more being colonised all the time, so occasionally nuking one or two into oblivion is not such a big deal. Now some worlds are very densely populated, to the point you can't breathe in unless someone else breathes out. Likewise, some are very sparsely populated and primarily used as vacation resorts or farming worlds. The vast majority, however, are similar to how Earth currently is, with many cities spread over the land, and whilst having many industrial locations, it also has sufficient agriculture to feed itself and ship food off-world. One thing all the worlds have in common though is a PDF. And no, I don't mean the Adobe document format, I mean a planetary defence force. For all intents and purposes, a PDF is the Imperial Guard. They have the same equipment and to some extent the same training. Their job is to hold the line until reinforcements can be mustered from other nearby systems and sent in to repel any invaders. They are entirely a defensive force. The size of a planet's PDF varies depending on many factors, including how often it ever gets attacked. The planet Cadia, before it was destroyed, had literally every citizen in the PDF. The entire planet was just one giant military base. Cadia is more of an exception than a rule, and the vast majority of planets will keep a PDF of similar size to modern day militaries compared to the civilian population. So how do we get from a PDF to the Imperial Guard? Well, every planet has to pay the Imperial Tithe. There are two types of tithe they have to pay. One is of materials, whether that be raw or pre-manufactured items. The other is of a military type. It's the military tithe we are looking at today. The Imperial Tithe means that some jumped-up prick of a jobsworth from the administrator will randomly show up at a planet and take 10% of the PDF forces of that planet as new recruits for the Imperial Guard. The advantage of this is you have an entire battle-ready and trained force, and if it's a particularly well-industrialised and wealthy planet, that doesn't just mean soldiers but also tanks, APCs, artillery and aerial support all ready to go. Commonly, the tithe of several planets will all be combined into a large army and will patrol around several planets or sectors as a roaming force until needed, or rerouted to other sectors that need reinforcing. There is no pre-warning of when the Bureau twat that will show up to take the tithe. It can happen any time depending on the location of the planet or where current wars or mass invasions are happening. Planets might have to pay the tithe several times a year, or it might even happen just once a generation. With these armies being formed coming from several different planets of varying levels of tech, this creates a very mixed combined arms, and with human life being so abundant, manpower is considered more a resource to be spent in the service of the Imperium. Service. Now life in the Guard is not pleasant, but then life anywhere in the 40k universe is not pleasant. A term of service is 10 years. When considering that's how long it takes to train a Space Marine, it doesn't sound that long. But in reality, life expectancy of the Guard is measured in hours once they are deployed. But conversely, they can spend months on patrol or just travelling to war zones. Like I said, human life is a currency to be spent, so throwing away the lives of several 100,000 soldiers in a war of attrition is just a Tuesday. When ordered into the breach, they don't have much choice. If they refuse the orders, they are shot by a commissar. You can guarantee as well that people making the orders did not get there on merit. It was due to them being born into a noble family, so quite possibly the people giving the orders have zero abilities in tactics. But when the only tactic is keep throwing ordnance, tanks and soldiers at a problem until it's no longer a problem, you really can't expect much. Imperial Guard regiments are rarely reinforced. If they are killed, then a new one is conscripted. If their numbers get low, they will just be deployed alongside fresher full units. This is more out of a sense of what to do with them, rather than allowing them to pass on their experience as veterans to the Green Raw recruits. If a regiment manages to make the 10-year mark and still have some surviving members, they are then sent on one last campaign to an uncolonised world to clear it of aliens. If they do manage to survive that, they are given land on the planet and allowed to retire. Yes, just the surviving members after the 10 years of war with no reinforcements are given one last chance to die or retire. How very fucking generous of the Administrator. The Imperial Guard has very simple tactics in the lore that it uses to great effect. Simply put, they bombard the shit out of the enemy with the mother of all artillery barrages, then send in masses of troops and tanks to finish off whatever survived. They do literally throw an excessive amount of munitions, tanks and soldiers at a problem until that problem is either dead or simply fucks off back where it came from. And when I say excessive amounts, when they deploy, they will deploy the entire army for everything, and if it's not enough, they will just call in more. And the tabletop army version is no different. For many years, an Imperial Guard army was a swarm army, usually consisting of a core of 5 or 6 squads, each having around 20 troopers and 3 to 4 tanks, sometimes more. Now most armies would only ever field 1 tank, so that's a lot of firepower. Talking about firepower, the Imperial Guard is synonymous with the lasgun, which compared to devastating weapons like the bolter, the lasgun is jokingly and affectionately referred to as a giant flashlight. In reality, that lasgun is perfectly capable of instantly burning a hole through anything that isn't wearing heavy armour, and with enough of them shooting the same target, they can take down Space Marines. Its older brother, the las cannon, is probably the most widely used anti-tank gun in 40k. The choice of tanks for the Imperial Guard seems endless, and they have several of the super heavy tanks that they can call upon, such as the Baneblade and its variants, which is widely considered the biggest and most powerful tank in all of 40k, and also the Shadow Soil, which comes in a close second. Both are extremely good at being anti-everything. The Baneblade is a little more over the top out of the two. With 13 guns though, it means it can effectively put a giant hole in anything big and armoured, and lots of smaller holes in the infantry. In fact, with the new rules on a 2000 point battle, you can put down 2 Baneblades, 2 Shadow Swords and a Commissar to lead them, and watch smugly as your opponent visibly shits himself, whilst at the same time wondering how many of your relatives or your internal organs you sold to afford them. The main tactic on the tabletop was to swarm your opponent with massed infantry, trying to tie up the range units in melee combat, reducing their effectiveness, while the tanks annihilated, well, everything. You would also then deploy a few specialised troops to capture objectives or to deal with particularly troublesome units in either hand-to-hand or with excessive firepower. Now it seems the focus has been moved onto the named unit types such as Acadian Shock Troopers or the Death Corps that tie up the enemy, while the regular troops can be equipped with heavy weapons to deal with the tougher units, and the tanks blow the shit out of everything else still. Considered one of the more expensive armies to play due to the sheer number of infantry squads you needed to have, but this seems to be somewhat rebalanced by the unit cap of only 3 of each type of unit, but you will still have considerably more models than a Space Marine player. The real superheroes. Now the Imperial Guard are the real bravest warriors of 40k. They are not genetically altered to be super strong or fearless, they are not immortal robots or beings of immense psychic powers, just ordinary humans with an assault rifle, some body armour and their mates. Pretty much every other faction is taller and stronger than they are, the only thing they have going for them is sheer weight of numbers and the tanks and artillery. Their tactic of throwing enough ordnance at the enemy that even Uncle Sam thinks they need to chill out a little does work for them. But can you really call a conscripted army brave that has no choice but to charge the enemy with fixed bayonets or get shot in the face with a las pistol by a commissar? I suppose charging the enemy gives you at least a chance of survival. That is, if there's any enemy left after the artillery barrage. And there we have it. That brings us to the end of this video. If you laughed or learnt anything, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and if you are already subscribed, then don't forget to share this video with somebody who could do with some noob-splaining in their life. Also, leave a comment on your favourite part. I do try and interact with every comment. But if you made it this far, thank you, and I'll see you next time.